Hey, everybody. Welcome to Love and Relo, the voice of the relocation industry. I am your host, Ben Cross, and I am so blessed and honored to have my good friend, my former colleague, my, alternative transportation thought leader, kind of a mentor of mine. We share a lot of ideas, and he's always been there for me since we started working together, Mr. Tim Quirk, who is the Vice President of Government and Commercial Relocation at North-South Logistics. So I can't wait to have him on the program today. Janet asked me before we started, she's like, is there anything I need to know, anything we're going to be promoting? I was like, no, Janet, absolutely not. Well, curveball. The t-shirts are still available. The Love and Reload t-shirts are still available. Whoa, Janet, you're good. You're quick. Look at, she's so quick, everybody. She's amazing. The Love and Reload t-shirts are still available. Love and Reload, Move for Hunger. You can get them right now. They're limited edition. We got a few left. They're shipping as we speak right now. People should be getting them like, I don't know, 2 weeks from now. They're coming in hot. They got the gold. They're shiny. We raised up to, I think we're at $26,000 right now that we've raised in Hunger Action Month to benefit Move for Hunger and to relieve hunger and food insecurity in our communities. And the relocation community has just come out full force, and it's so amazing to be a part of it. So shout out to the Corporate Action Network. Shout out to Move for Hunger. Shout out to my friend Tanya Maritini, who was my co-host. And we will actually be going live again on Friday, me and Tanya, to wrap everything up. But if you want to get those t-shirts, get them while they're available, because they will not be available for long. So without further ado, I'm going to bring out my good friend, Tim Quirk. Tim, how you doing, sir?
Mr. Cross, how are you?
Man, I'm so happy to see you, man. Like, you're one of my favorite people. We worked together for a long time. We've been friends for a longer time, and this is just really cool to get to do stuff like this with people that, frankly, I miss a little bit, because we haven't had a chance to give you one of those big old, side hugs or something with a cocktail.
Yeah, I know. I mean, this is. I was just thinking about it recently, about all the traveling that I haven't done and how great it is being with the family. And
right.
But I mean, I also feel like there's a part of my family that I've neglected. Normally, it's the family that lives under my roof, right? But
right. You're used to neglecting the people downstairs, and now it's me. Now the tables have turned, and you're neglecting me now, which is different. So, yeah. Let's see here. We got some people checking in here. Looks like, all right. Looks like I'm not getting my comments here. Okay, there they come in. Yeah, we got Jeff Nadeau from LinkedIn. Tim, is it snowing in Buffalo yet?
Probably by the end of the month. Another couple of weeks.
Tim, where exactly are you? Because you always check in. You always check in with the WNY abbreviation, which everybody knows is Wyoming next year. But where are you really, though, Tim?
So I am in a little town, a little village called Bergen, New York. And
not Bergen.
Not Bergen. If you were anywhere else in the world, even the city it was named after, it would be called Bergen. But here it's Bergen. And we're halfway between Rochester and Buffalo, New York. So that's Western New York. Governor Andrew Cuomo likes to call us the Finger Lakes region.
Nice, because there's lakes, and they're like fingers, and
they are
this. I remember that from my New York State history class.
That's right.
Very nice, very nice. Hey, if you're watching this right now, we got a bunch of people on LinkedIn coming in right now. Go ahead and give Tim a like, throw him some love. That's my boy Tim out there. Throw him a little love right there. Maybe hit that celebration icon early, just to really get the juices flowing and inspire us. Love it to leave some comments down there. Also, give some shout outs there. Shout out your company. Let us know where you're at and what you're up to. Love to hear some questions. Well, we're going to be covering everything from technology to how do we develop as people, and what does our career journey look like, and how do we pivot and reinvent ourselves. I mean, when I met Tim, he was doing one thing, and now he's doing another thing, and he's made some stops along the way. And I think it's just really cool. And I just want to understand that, because there's a lot of people out there that are watching Tim right now. There's a lot of people, and they're going through a lot of things right now due to COVID, due to just, frankly, the evolution of our industry as a whole, and they're looking for ways to reinvent themselves. And I think that you honestly are kind of one of the people I look to for thought leadership in that area. So I look forward to hearing some of your stories and advice you got for us today.
Looking forward to giving it.
Let's see here. We got people checking in here. Sandra, Clary, Tim, Ben, and Janet. Bring on the learning. Shout out to Janet, super producer Janet there. If it wasn't for her, we'd be 5 minutes late today. So I appreciate you, Janet. Janet, oh, nice wine from up there. I actually shipped Finger Lake wines to the Dominican Republic or the doctor. I don't know, Janet. Let me know if it was the doctor or if your doctor's Dominican, whatever. Dominicans, Jerry. Martin May.
Good truck drivers, the Dominicans.
They're great truck drivers. You remember those Dominicans that Chris Mizell used to dispatch? Oh my gosh! Hey, we're gonna tell. Hey, if we run out of stuff to talk about, we might start telling some alt trans stories. Okay, it might get us. I don't know if the DOT's watching, but it might get us in trouble. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure it was fine, but really, it's funny. Yeah, he's like, got these Dominicans and they just love all this tonnage. How much can they get? And he's tendering it. He's tendering it at what we were getting paid to do it. And that's just not how you make money, Tim. Goodness gracious. I mean, I know you got good rates over there north south, Tim, but I don't think even you could do that, Tim.
No, I always take my share. I'm a fair businessman. I always take my share.
Let's see here. Marty, the Marty party's checking in. Martin also used to work with Tim and I over at 1-800-PACKER at Forward Relocation. He says, is it true the Finger Lakes are haunted? Tim,
every single one of them. I'm sure. Every single one.
Now, do they have one ghost that patrols the whole region, or do they have a ghost per lake? I mean, I think it's important just from a logistical standpoint to understand how that might happen.
I think there's haunted essences everywhere in the world, Martin. So I can't speak specifically on the Finger Lakes.
Okay.
I've never been visited by a haunting spirit.
By a spirit, yeah. Well, there's always next year. Andrew, great to see you, gents. Hello from Vindium in Bentonville, Arkansas. What's up, Andrew? How you doing? Speaking of wine, Andrew's family has a vineyard out in Arizona. Just check it out. Andrew, leave a link down there if you want to shout them out. Rob, greetings from EMA Eastern. See what you started, Tim? I blame you 1,000% for this BS EMA. I mean, oh, Maron. EMA, Eastern Mass, from a former Ithaca resident with WNY roots. What's up, Rob?
Went to school at Ithaca College. Let's go Bombers.
Can you say Bombers on a recorded line? Janet Turner, Dominican Republic. Thank you, Janet. Raina's checking in. What's up, Raina? Oh my gosh, get the band back together. Shoot, we could mess around and manage a scat code right now, Tim. What do you say, huh? For old times.
We got another couple months.
Yeah, we could upload some blackouts. Janet Turner Winery was, I believe, the Thirsty Owl. Sounds like a hoot. Tim, getting into you like what I did there? See, I don't like that. I have more kids than I used to have, so now the dad jokes are like, mwah, they're just gorgeous right now. So Tim, you've worked at a lot of places. I mean, really quick, you want to just kind of give us an overview of your history and let us know kind of what that career arc was like. How'd you find yourself in the moving and relocation and transportation business?
I actually found myself in the business through a multi-location Mayflower agent, and I was brought in to do their IT. And it's funny how we go full circle, because back then everything was outsourced, and when if you were successful, you brought it in house. That's how you knew that you had made it, right? So I went in and we brought all of our network in house. We actually went to a domain instead of a Windows NT work group, and so it just started from there. And that was and so I needed to learn the business to be able to create some software and find the right people that can create the software. And we had some proprietary apps, and it was huge. We were hitting it hard.
Yeah.
But now we find ourselves almost a couple decades later, and we're kind of going back to, well, everything needs to be out in the cloud now. Everything needs to be outsourced, and SaaS, and all these great acronyms.
So I got a question. So seeing that arc there, and the way things have evolved, and maybe the way things have kind of come full circle to your point, how does a company know when it needs to go through a technological transformation? How does a company know when it needs to outsource or when it needs to bring stuff in? What are some of the questions maybe we should be asking ourselves as we consider technological transformations?
I mean,
oh, this is very appropriate. I think Tim is frozen. So I think Tim's discovering that he might need to outsource some of his technology there in Bergen. You know, I think they're sending the signal at Bergen, Tim.
Am I back?
You're back. You're back.
Back.
Oh my gosh, and glorious.
So,
all right, go for it.
Oh, thank you. So it's important to always be communicating with either your current technology vendors or, you know, going to trade shows and that kind of thing, because unless you're always asking what's out there, what do I need? You know, do I need to upgrade? Do I need to outsource? You know, you don't know. You know, because
so you're always asking. So I like that idea, always asking. But I mean, to be honest, right? You always asking. Who are you going to ask? You're going to ask like reps, and those sales reps are going to tell you you need to be doing something more than you're doing now. And I feel like then but how do you really know, right? How do you test that hypothesis? I mean, is it a matter of networking with other people in your space and trying to establish best practices from that? I mean, what are your thoughts there?
I mean, certainly, you know, talking to other people in your space, but, you know, it's also these reps you're talking to are going to tell you need this, but you also need to know what it's currently costing you. You know, what is this technology going to replace, or what is this supposedly going to enhance? What is it costing me now? You know, and so then number one. Number two, sometimes you find out when it's too late. Sometimes you find out when, you know, somebody's asking for some Bitcoin to decrypt your files, you know, on your server or something like that too, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's happening a lot. I mean, that's happening I'm hearing about this all the time where you know, it's funny because I think as moving and relocation, you know, companies, we're thinking, oh, we're just a little, you know, 2-truck operation, or, you know, we got 10 people working for us. I mean, none of these Russian hackers are going to come after our systems and try to, you know, hold us hostage. You know, we're small potatoes. But yeah, I'm hearing about it all the time, you know, where people are getting, you know, hit with ransomware attacks, and, you know, it might be 10 grand, 20 grand, whatever, but it's like, you know, it's out there, you know, and it can tie you up for a long time. I mean, is there, you know, is that a matter of choosing a different enterprise software, or is that a matter of just, you know, kind of like what Scott Augenbaum was talking about on the program, just taking better care of your passwords and just 2-factor authentication and things like that? Or is it about having holes in your actual software that are easy to be hacked into?
I mean, it's all of the above, you know, but we have to remember the number one cause of the breach is us humans,
right?
You know, we're normally trusting, and they don't care how big your organization is. They're not going out there doing market research and saying, okay, if there's a McDonald's on this corner of the plaza, I'm going to hit everybody in that plaza.
They're not on Dun and Bradstreet and looking at your Hoovers or something like that, and just like, you know, mapping out the market and seeing who they want to go after. Okay, that makes sense.
If you have an email address, right, you're equally as important as anybody else with an email address.
So this is actually a good say. We got people checking in over here. Shout out to the bombers there. Love to hear your questions also for Tim, comments as well. We got people checking in right here. Jamie Massler, hi Ben and Tim, cheers from sunny Mississippi. What's up, Jamie? Take care of yourself out there. Eric Masadi, how fun is this? This is like where we used to work. I feel like it's a Tuesday morning, and each of you should be providing your weekly update. Keep it tight. So what Eric's talking about is every Tuesday morning at like 9 o'clock, we'd all have to get into a conference room, and we'd all have to like report out on our last week's stats. And it was just like, oh my gosh, it was the worst time ever. And basically the whole thing was keep it real tight and punchy. Get out of there with no questions, and pass the hot potato to the next person at the table, and just avoid scrutiny. Do you remember those moments?
Yeah, I mean, it was like anytime I was really proud and I wanted to dig down into like a win, I realized that was the worst thing I could have done in that particular situation. You keep it high level, 50,000 foot. Nice and tight, you pass it. And another thing too, it was always because of the great equipment we had. We got all these people in this conference. Remember, he's looking for a plug, right? We're sharing plugs. All right, I'm up next. You're gonna plug into me, and then
yeah. Or how about everybody? 20 people get on this call, right? About 15 in person, 5 remotely, right? And then 5 remotely, and then the CEO does a roll call. and only 4 people answer, and the 5th person doesn't answer and say who they are. He's like, all right, everybody off the call, dial back in, you know, and we'd spend the first 15 minutes just killing the call and redialing back in. Oh my gosh, it was just so the comedy. It was like Office Space. Fantastic, Eric. It's good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Eric's out there working for Trailer Bridge now in Jacksonville. Yeah, he's like a big deal now. Big time. So I called that one. I saw that one. But so Tim, so
Trailer Bridge. You called Trailer Bridge or just
no? I called Eric's a big deal. I called that.
Yeah. One. All right.
Yeah, I called that one. No, but so now bring us forward. So you worked for a large Mayflower agent back in the day, right? Mm-hmm. Big hauling operation, multi-location, and then why don't you tell the story how you and I got tangled up there and come to work together?
So, yeah, that big Mayflower agent basically divested, right? It gone in over its head, and some receiver came in, and there was basically a fire sale, and 1-800-PACK-RAT purchased some of the assets of that company, and that's, you know, they said, hey, come on along with us with these assets, so that we, you know, at least have somebody who can explain some stuff to us about all the craziness that went on, and then you were there. And I know you were waiting for me with open arms. They let you know that, you know, we got Tim coming in. He's gonna be, you know, side by side. And
it was the worst. I had no idea Tim was coming in. I had no idea. I think I knew that we were acquiring, you know, one of the locations, but I didn't know. There was no conversation about, hey, here's Tim, here's what his role is going to be. It was almost like kind of cloak and dagger, and I think it was almost done. It's like to see who was gonna, you know, be dominant or something, because we came in we're at the same level. We both were like director level or whatever, right? And Tim's skill set was very different than mine. So I mean, I give Tim a lot of credit, a lot of props. He kind of definitely totally brought a whole nother, from the SCAC management and all just the DTR stuff and all just how to actually run a physical location, you know, because he had several under his purview as the chief administrative officer over there. And so, you know, it definitely was great bringing Tim to the table, but it was interesting the way it was done. And but what I thought was cool, Tim, and I thought to your credit, and I think to mine too, is that we got along pretty quickly, and we quickly became, you know, allies and worked well together to try to build something and continue expanding. What did you learn from that experience, though?
Well, the first thing I want to say is that I was there because of you, and when I found out that you had no idea, that like blew my mind. I mean, that's crazy. We're trying to sell this, right? And basically, it's like, you know, my job at that point switched to basically being a business broker. Find people that will buy these assets so that the current owners, you know, will be able to get out of the hock.
Right.
So I said, I know this person. His name's Ben Cross. I know his company is in an acquisition mode. Mm-hmm. You know? And I don't know if I reached out to you by email or something, but I got your contact information. And I saw it at a PPF or something. Yeah. And because you were just then, PACK-RAT was just then getting into the government and the DoD work. Yeah. I said, reach out. So I'm going there thinking you're going to be excited to see me. Yeah. You know, because I'm there because of you. You know, I didn't know anything about PACK-RAT. I knew you. That was it. And I'm like, I know this guy's company's buying. You know, it turned out, you know, it was split up into a lot of different pieces, and PACK-RAT bought one. So we get in there, and to your credit, I was excited about working with it. To your credit, you were very cool, and it wasn't until later that I found out, you know, how I was.
Well, I had to play it off probably like I knew what was going on, right? Because when your boss tells you, hey, there's this new guy in here, and he works in the office next to you, and he's got the same job title as you, and you know, I'm sure this is going to work out, right? You're like, oh yeah, of course, no problem, you know. And then like you go back and you try to piece it together, like, you know, Kaiser Sose or something. You start piecing it together. It's like a barbershop quartet in Skokie, Illinois. Like, you know, you start piecing it together. It's like, No, but no, it was great, Tim. Working with you was great, and you really brought a great context and experience to me, which helped balance me a lot because I was very, immature in my experience and just in a lot of things, didn't know a lot of things, and so. But what was that like? Coming on to an organization like that, and just to lay the groundwork, 1-800-PACK-RAT, where I used to work, where Tim used to work. Was a containerized model similar to like a pods, for instance, right? But then I had started this company within there called Forward Relocation, which was a full service move management company that did everything from alternative transportation using freight transportation and trailers, which we'll get into more about because Tim does a lot of that now, to, obviously using the containers, to growing into acquisition mode where we purchased a piece of Tim's old company, purchased Sonny Singh's company, and then we kind of started running like that was an ARPAN agent and a Mayflower agent, so we started running like a traditional house of goods operation. So we were doing a lot of things, and it was kind of like the Wild West out there. But I mean, so Tim, going from like a very established, large, company like a Hidden Valley Mayflower, very large and established, reputable company, and coming into something that was kind of being built. It was like building the plane while flying in the air. What was that like for you? I mean,
I was in awe because coming from a van line agent, you guys were making millions of dollars doing something that the van line agent said couldn't be done. If you are not part of a van line and have van operators and household goods vans and pads and straps, and you can't move people.
Right.
And
you can't do corporate business, and you can't do military moves, and you can't do you're
basically I went over thinking that this was a glorified U-Haul, that's getting into the DoD business, and then when I realized, wait a second, these people, 1-800-PACK-RAT Forward Relocation, they're taking traditional van line customers. And the agents of the van lines don't even realize it, and I was like, this is, so then I was just kind of an open book to it. I'm like, I can't believe there's a whole segment of this industry that I knew nothing about.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. I mean, just to give people some context, and then we're seeing some comments come in, and keep those comments coming. If you got questions as well for Tim, for myself, about alternative transportation, about, the way the moving industry is going, relocation, anything like that, go ahead and leave them. If you have questions about, stories we're telling, or how, Tim or myself have transformed, our careers or whatever, go ahead and leave those. We'll answer your questions ad infinitum. So just leave them down below. Otherwise, you're just going to hear us talking about a lot of war stories, which also could be really fun and cool too, because we are not holding back on anything, apparently. Eric Masadi, I'm not sure if I'll end up being the only listener, but I love the war stories. What up, E? Yeah. I mean, it was classic. I mean, it was crazy. Yeah, a lot of whiskey in the conference room. It was fun. Tracy Denora, good afternoon. What's up, Tracy, from New Jersey Warehousemen's Association. Georgia Engel, hi from Florida.
Hey, Georgia.
Florida, Georgia line. Let's see here. Janet, let's see here, asking about North South. You know what? We're gonna hold off because we're gonna get there. I promise you, Janet. We're gonna get there. Hi, Ben and Tim. Surprisingly, I have no questions.
Let's talk about lump sum.
That's great. Jack, you'll have questions soon, I'm sure. Lynn Greenberg, go Tim Quirk, checking in from New York Pivot app.
Hey, Lynn.
Yeah, Lynn's pretty cool. Mark Gray, hey, Ben and Tim. Mark Gray, checking in. Oh, you know what? And then here's another, Emily Kozabowski. I believe that's Joe's wife, Joe Kozabowski's wife. He was at 1-800-PACK-RAT. He was the VP when I got there, or SVP or something, when I got there. So, another thread there. Very cool. Very interesting. So Tim, talking about kind of like what your impression was, did you take away, what did you take away? And I just want to stay here talking about this forward relocation thing, because I think it was so, I feel like it's kind of underrated because I don't think it really exists anymore, or maybe not to the degree it did. because it got up to like $14 million.
Yeah.
The year I left. I mean, and it started from just an idea. I remember being in my mom's kitchen in my boxer shorts talking to Bob Poyer, the CEO, on the phone about the name, and he wanted to call it PR Relocation, like for Pack Rat, because it was an inside spinoff basically that we were doing, subsidiary, I should say. And I'm like, no, Bob, I think Forward Relocation could be, a much bigger idea. And I won that little debate that we had. And but I remember, this thing started just as an idea, and then to have people like you and other people, Reno's on here, people who know the business and have been doing it for a long time, who I respected, to come on board and help me grow it and work together. I was so honored, honestly, by that you guys would even take a risk like that. What was some of the things maybe that you took away from that experience, maybe that have influenced kind of what you did next in your career, or different, maybe made you think differently?
I think my biggest takeaway of all is that model, there were definitely some downsides to that model, but the biggest upside to that model was we could move anyone on any calendar day of the year. There was no summer peak. There was no, if you don't book by this date, you're not going to be able to have your household goods transported until after this date.
And explain why that was so different, and explain how we did that.
It was so different because the hardest thing about being a salesperson for a van line is that when everybody wants to move, the van line trucks are already full. So there's no capacity, right? The whole
finite capacity. There's X couple hundred drivers or whatever it is, and that's it.
Yeah. And I think every year, except maybe our pandemic year, PY, if you will, that is the case. We want to move during the summer, and there's a ton of reasons why we want to move during the summer.
Everybody wants to move last week of June, first week of July, 4th of July week. Yep.
And so that was my biggest takeaway, is that because I kept hearing how the problem was there's a van operator shortage. And when you're a van line, there certainly is a van operator shortage. Well, that doesn't mean that you can't find a professional driver, professional van operator to move your goods any day of the year.
So how did
the shortage is the people that are going to pack it, who know how to pack your household goods properly, who will pack it, who will load the transport vehicle. Well,
Yeah. And I mean, just to stay on that one specific, right? I mean, you might even go so far as to say there's not a driver shortage. There is a yield management problem, right? That the car rental, the hotel, the flight industry, airline industry has figured out, right? So if you want to fly on Wednesday before Thanksgiving Thursday, or if you want to fly out on Christmas Eve, right, you're paying 3 times, 3x, right? But there's no similar dynamic pricing in the household goods industry to say, oh, you want to move on July 3rd or July 6th, or 5th, I should say, July 3rd or July 5th. We take a long holiday. It's my mom's birthday, July 5th. If you want to move on July 3rd or July 5th, that's going to be a 2x pricing, and just because, and if you did that, then people wouldn't move on those dates unless they absolutely had to. And then you'd have you start to normalize the demand curve, right? Because right now the demand curve does this every peak, and then does this on the way down. And our goal would be to get it here. And then all the professional van operator companies would be in a good spot. But
I know there is one very large van line that does use a pricing model like that. I don't think they're able to get the kind of increase in price that your hotels or rental cars or airlines can, but they do that.
I'd love to hear from people watching this right now. We got corporates represented. I'm sure we got RMCs represented. I know we got some movers in the house, both on the asset and non-asset based side. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on that pricing model and that yield management model to solve for some of the driver shortage. And then I want to hear from Tim Tim, I'd like you to tell everybody how we did it at Forward Relocation. And I'd love to hear, obviously, in the comments how everybody else would propose to do it. But Tim, so how did we solve for that?
Well, what we did is we packed like you would for an international move. Okay, so that's paper pads instead of cloth pads, and I can go into telling you that a double wrapped 3-ply paper pad done properly will protect furniture just as equally as a cloth pad with rubber bands. But there's a lot of environmental issues, and there's a lot of other things that go along with that when you're moving domestically. So we would pack like it was international, and we would put it on freight. We put it on air ride freight vehicles. Maybe little pups or 53s, but the fact remains, even today in my current position, if you call me today, the only thing that's stopping the freight from being picked up today is if the shipper is closed. Our traditional moving model, we don't have that. I know it requires packing and that sort of thing.
When you say the shipper's closed, what do you mean by that?
The warehouse that the freight is at.
Yeah.
So, truck.
What if it's going? And what about going from residence? Does it have to go in your model now? And why don't you tell everybody about North South and what it does, and then let's talk about some of the mechanics of how it works.
So North and South was started in 2000 by a gentleman named Steve Stutz. So anybody in the moving and storage industry is probably familiar with Steve. And he basically started it by, he had a truck out west that he needed to get back east, and he went on a load board, and it was an overflow of military household goods in a lift van. So he picked it up, got the truck back, or a couple of them got the truck back, and then he was looking into what is this, what is this kind of business, and then he found it. And then Chuck Bailey, who was on your show on the IAM dad,
shout out to Chuck
presentation, he really taught Steve Stutz about TSPs and what they move. And so back then, 2000, Steve Stutz faxed every DoD approved transportation service provider and said, hey, if you need help moving your stuff in lift vans, I'm the guy. And so that was 2000. And then up about 5 years ago, Mike Lampe, the president, he and his ownership group purchased North and South. And since then we've really become a full service brokerage. So LTL, crated LTL, volume, but we also do full truckload, we're commercial, reefer, flatbed. If it moves, intermodal, if it moves on the land in the continental United States, we can move it.
All right, we got questions coming in here that actually is kind of goes to the next thing I want you to explain, which is something you were talking about before, which is your only limitation. And let's see what Jack says. So Jack Jampel, who reserved the right to ask a question, and we always honor that right, Jack. How do you handle issues when you pick up but then need to drop off at local facility? Won't they still have the shortage/delay issue to deliver out?
So in the Forward Relocation model, we were doing residence to residence. We do that. That is one thing we'll do at North South, but the majority of our household goods go origin agent to destination agent, or port to destination agent, vice versa.
So your customers, just to be clear for people, your customers are, who are your customers, to be clear? Not specific names, but
my customers are either transportation service providers, forwarders, agents on the household goods side.
Moving companies and move management companies,
yeah,
basically. So moving companies and move management companies contract with Tim's company to arrange for transportation, typically between warehouse to warehouse. What Tim and I used to do at Forward Relocation, and so to answer Jack's question, yes, you can move from warehouse to warehouse. You are still subject to whatever the schedule looks like at that warehouse to then deliver it out.
Yes,
very much so. And to Tim's point earlier, and I know this is like I'm supposed to let Tim talk, but like whatever, right? To Tim's point earlier, the true not the true, but one of the most under discussed shortages is not the professional van operator, the driver, the owner operator, but it's the guys that help that guy when he gets to destination. There's a severe shortage of those people, to the point where those people are also independent contractors most often, to the point where the price for that labor has gone from $100 a day to $250, on sometimes $300. Which is ironic because they've actually figured out surge pricing when their customer, the van lines and the professional van operator, have not yet figured out surge pricing. So anyway, to Jack's point, yes, there's still a shortage delay potentially at destination. Go ahead, Tim.
Let's talk about surge pricing, though. Unfortunately for the moving industry, surge pricing only works when it's something that the people really want. The consumer really wants. Like surge pricing works for Uber because I want to get where, I got to get to dinner and I got to get there right now.
Right.
Where it's funny because when there's a company that has every one of your possessions in the world, all of your belongings, we don't, for some reason as consumers, we don't put the same value on that as we do flying to grandma's house for Thanksgiving or getting in the Uber to make sure I'm not late for dinner.
Well, let's unpack that. Let's discuss that because I think it's an interesting comparison, right? So the surge pricing that works the best, I think we would agree, is Uber, where you can literally charge 3, 4, 5x. How many Ubers are there? There's 2. There's Uber and there's Lyft, right? The second best surge pricing, in my opinion, please feel free to disagree or leave it in the comments too, y'all, if you're watching. The second best industry I'd say it works with is airlines, where there's United, Delta, American, Southwest, JetBlue. There's like a half dozen options, right? The next best I'd say it works with is probably hotels, right? And where there's probably 24 hotels, and maybe only a dozen that are within walking distance of downtown, conference or something, right? I remember, getting quoted $999 for the Hilton downtown Boston during the ERC one year, right? So, and then
you paid it.
Yeah. Well, me, my per diem is quite luxurious, false. But no, around the moving thing though, there's 40, 50 people who will tell you they can move you. Now, some of them might be internet brokers and they're lying to you, and then you'll sort it out later. But there's so many competitors that there's always going to be somebody that's going to tell you they can do it on the days you want for the price that you need it to be done. And then, of course, they sort you out later. So I think that's one of the struggles with surge pricing. What do you think, Tim, about that?
I agree. I agree that that's 100%. There's no barrier to entry into our business anymore. If you want to be fraudulent, right?
It used to be you'd have to get an ICC. You'd have to buy a company that already existed, and there was a set of number that you could have, and now anybody can be a moving company.
Yeah,
just go on Yelp and make a profile, and you're a moving company.
And I was talking to one of my wife's friends, and she's moving from North Carolina, and she's getting great prices from 8 van line agents. And I'm telling her, this is really a good price, but it's like double what she wants to spend. And I said, well, think about why you don't want to do it. Think about how much you don't want to pack your stuff. Think about how much, and you realize that, that this is really a good deal. And I think as an industry, because there's so many people that contradict what our real agents are saying. It's hard for people to believe. Now, she believed me because we had a relationship, through my wife. But
I'm seeing some. You're right though, right? Because we're telling everybody, hey, you can't find a mover. You can't find a mover the July 3rd to do this. You can't find a mover. Better book now, because if you don't get on the calendar, there won't be a truck. And then there's some guy calls her off the internet and is like, yeah, no problem. We got a truck in your area. And by the way, I'll knock $150 off you you reserve it right now. It's like, and then of course we get into the whole conversation about internet brokers, right? This is interesting here, the conversation going on in the comments, and I'd love to keep this conversation going right here. Please keep this going. This is fantastic. Janet Turner says, I love this conversation and talking my language. This is great. This is good stuff right here. I want to keep this going. Janice saying, as a freight forwarder, I've been doing crate freight for years. Now, certain van lines will not allow their agents to perform OA or DA to do the work. Are you seeing that, Tim, where some van lines are prohibiting their agent family from supporting forwarders?
I don't see it, because when it comes to me, the moving company or the movement, can say certain it's the, so I would.
Tim, is breaking up a little bit. I think Big Moving is hacked your system, and they are censoring you. I think the Chinese government in cahoots with Big Moving has hacked you and it's censoring right now. Tim's going to restart his Wi-Fi extender right now, and we're going to see if we got Tim. Do we have Tim live from Bergen?
How are you?
Yes, Roger that. Roger that. Clear. Clear.
Okay, sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I was saying I agree with Janet, because it's the same agents in every city that's doing all the work. So regardless of my customer, if it's going into a certain city, it's usually all going into the same agent.
Yeah. Okay. So you don't see it. So you have very, very deftly avoided that question by saying, if I get the order, it's obviously not a problem. I can't comment on the orders I don't get. That's right. Interesting. That's a great take, Tim. Man, I got to learn that one. Dancing people. Lena, good evening. Greetings from Diminishing, Stockholm, Sweden. Hello, Lena. It's good to see you. Hadn't talked to you in a while. We should catch up. Brian Sanchez Stoker. Hi, everyone. What's up, Brian? Thanks for checking in. Brian's a first-time commenter. Appreciate that. Let's see. Brian's coming in from the UK. Who's killing it in the UK? Martin says, Tim, what has been the reluctance of the van lines in adapting to the forward reload model?
Forward reload model didn't use van operators, and that's, van operator is the second of the two huge pieces in the van line model. Martin, I'll take this one. The problem is, a van line starts doing it, and the agents freak out, right? The agents will be like, whoa, you can't divert tonnage away from my, I got a fleet I'm trying to build over here. I painted my trailers, whatever. And you're supposed to be funneling business to me, in return for the royalty fee. And now you're putting, some LTL truck under that, or some truckload non-asset-based carrier under that thing. How am I supposed to make a living over here and keep and feed my guys? Now, there are van lines that will utilize alternative transportation. Obviously, Tim wouldn't be here, but a lot of times it's in the summertime where they can get around it because they don't have the traditional van operators to feed. And so you have some of that. And then, of course, you have independents that use the forward reload model all year long. But the other thing, too, is that the traditional van lines have sold, hey, I got this shiny blue truck that's going to show up. And they just don't feel comfortable putting something at residence that doesn't reflect that brand standard, if you will. Unless it's in the middle of summer and they have promised to move the person and that's their only option.
Yeah, it would be like somebody, reserving a pack rack container, and we don't have any pack rack containers, so we're going to call pods up and then place one of those at residence. There comes into some branding issues and a lot of cultural pushback from that. So, good question, Marty. Appreciate you, bud. Let's see here. We got Rob checking in here. Moves for renters in Boston cost considerably more around September 1st, the big moving day for students and renters, but that's a customer group that has little flexibility around when they move. The lease ends when it ends. Rob, how much does it flex? Does it flex 1.5x? Does it flex 2x? I bet it doesn't flex more than 2x, but I'd love to hear thoughts on that, Rob. Thoughts, Tim?
Boston's a college town. right? So that makes a lot of sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
I don't think it does more than 2x because that would be hard for me to believe.
It would be hard for me. Yeah, it'd be hard for me to believe too. But I mean, that's probably more likely. I mean, that's probably more reflective of a true supply and demand curve, I would think. But to your point, consumers would lose their mind. I mean, if American Airlines does it and charges $800 for that flight, we say, oh gosh, well, I guess it is what it is. Should have booked earlier. When Joe Mover does it, like they start calling the Better Business Bureau and leaving reviews and stuff, right? It's funny. So Janet is talking to Jack Jampel and says, I can answer that, Jack. Jack's asking about the shortage of local crews to deliver the shipment. And then Janet says, I can answer, Jack. It would be an issue, but some agents will allow you to hold or pencil in a date to deliver. Any thoughts on that, Tim?
Yeah, that is true. But that must be the relationship that Janet has with the agents, because I think that's becoming less and less the rule.
Yeah, I mean, and you're right. Because what a lot of them will do is they'll say, well, I can't schedule until it arrives. So when it hits my dock, I'll schedule it. Now, of course, the problem being in the summertime is that they're already booked 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out in the summertime. So now that crate hits the dock, and now you get on the calendar from 3 weeks from that date, and obviously it presents challenges. Yeah. So again, based on the relationship the forwarder has with that agent, how trustworthy they are, basically how much faith does that destination agent have in the forwarder's ability to coordinate that shipment and the reliability of the carrier being used, and like, okay, is there a BOL number? Is there tracking on it? Is it day certain? Have you paid the extra $50 to make sure it's like definitely guaranteed to arrive? So there's just some of that goes on, I think. Man, it's like riding a bike, Tim. I'll tell you what, baby. I just all right. Zenaida checking in from Venezuela. What's up, Zenaida? Let's see here. And then
we have any Brazilians here today? Any Brazilians?
Yeah, can we get a shout from the Brazilians? Where they
remember, Brazil will win the World Cup. Remember this. I'm your guy.
Tim's been peddling Brazilian propaganda for weeks now on this show. Rob says, goes up a wicked high amount. I'll get back to you. Thanks, Rob. If you wouldn't mind calling up these movie companies and asking what they were charging 3 weeks ago, that would be phenomenal.
That'd be wicked good of you.
Wicked good, man. Wicked good. Surge and demand. Yes. So this is interesting. So Jack comes in here. So this is the conversation I want to get into. Jack comes in here and says the problem is that the household goods industry doesn't have a way to manage surge pricing. There are companies that will pay the surge price. That's our frustration. So Jack, if I can paraphrase or read into some of the things you're saying, is there's corporations that move transferees that would actually understand and would pay an additional premium, especially on a date like July 3rd, but they're not even being presented with the option of July 3rd at an additional rate. And a lot of it's also because the way the contracts are written is you have off-peak and you have peak. And even the existence of peak it seems like a relatively newer, phenomena, but it's in order to get things serviced. But you don't have off-peak, peak, and then like holiday price. Like, to be honest with you, there should be off-peak, peak, and then peak of the peak or holiday price, for days surrounding a holiday or on holidays themselves, right? But I mean, from what go ahead.
It's huge here though, because I and maybe it's only just like an old school type thought, like you said about the tariff or the contract or whatever. I can't believe that no van line has gone to a corporation and said, we can serve you better if we add surge pricing. Or maybe they did, and the corporation said, well, none of the other people do it. So,
Yeah, I think there's some of none of the other people do it, or we've never heard of this before, or this is highly unorthodox. I think these are some of the complaints. If anybody's watching this actually, and Janet, you're watching back there. Janet is literally the only person I know that's actually watching this right now. I can guarantee it. I appreciate you so much.
I'm not sure I'm watching right now.
Sometimes I feel like I'm flying blind. Janet, but there's a Freakonomics there's a Freakonomics episode. It's a podcast about free parking. And and they talks about how parking in Boston. Shout out to Rob here. Boston has a massive parking problem, and it's because it's all free parking. And if they went to a paid parking model with surge pricing, there would never be a parking problem. But as it stands now, you have people putting sofas in spots to save them because they see a free spot, and it's like, but it's bananas right now. So Janet, if you could find that Freakonomics, free parking, episode and throw that in the comments, I would be like, I would adore you for that. That'd be amazing, because I love Freakonomics podcast. And I just think if we could learn from other industries that utilize pricing concepts like this, because what it allows us to do is it allows us to actually help people who need to be helped on that day when other people truly have flexibility. It kind of starts to suss out some of that flexibility, which, just a little, if everybody had a little flex, the whole thing could work together.
And it would even help too. I mean, because, with the pandemic, I mean, there's certain areas of the country that for freight drivers, there's not enough drivers, right? I mean, so Southern California, parts of Texas, when I go out and get quotes from drivers now, it's a lot higher than it ever was before. So, when the moving company only has so much money in the budget, but if we had something with our customer for the surge pricing, then we could service them and everybody could still make their 2 cents.
That's it. Hey, shout out to Martin there coming
nice
through.
Job, Martin.
Economics, man. Look at Marty on the spot. You know what? I tell you what, man. Let's see here. Janet, I'll be curious here, Janet. Janet says, I've never agreed or liked seasonal pricing. So I got to ask Janet, why is that? Right? Understanding that imagine a world where a person can move on any date they want to move, but with it came whatever the going rate was. It's more like a spot market rate versus a contracted rate, right? Let's see here. Love to hear more, Janet. Get after it in the comments there. Sandra Clary, great point about communicating the value prop and the contrary. If disreputable voices with internet brokers, great conversation. Thank you, Sandra. Eric Masadi, Jerry Seinfeld explained this long ago. My man, Eric, appreciate you. Jerry Seinfeld explained this long ago. Everyone can take the reservation, but the holding is the most important part. That's it. Seriously, though. Yeah, I'll take reservations all day long. But if I don't hold them, what's the point, right? Oh, my gosh, this is fantastic. Eric E-Money, I miss you, buddy. Let's see here. Tracy's laughing here. Oh, this is great. And most major van lines have started their own crate and freight divisions, for sure. You're seeing a lot of small shipment solutions right now, Tim? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Tell us what you're seeing right now.
Well, unfortunately, the van lines when they price their small shipment, they look at what the van operator would make or what they'd have to pay the van operator, and they say like, okay, well, the van operator's not there, so we can price it at our current price minus X. Well, they still, most of them aren't factoring in enough for what the freight transportation is going to be.
Yeah. Interesting. What are some of the things that people need to consider about freight transportation that might surprise them?
Except true LTL, under 5,000 pounds, under 3 pieces, usually, in this market, volume prices change every day. You can't, and we work with our asset-based partners to minimize the fluctuation, but
so that's a good point, right? Because freight, you say freight guys change, the freight cost changes every day. It's a volatile market, right? I think I had somebody at my door. I don't know. I could be hearing things. It's a long weekend, Tim.
How about them Cowboys?
Hey? Huh? Oh my goodness, don't even get me started. We're running out of time. No, but I think you need to have that rate predictability, right? And I think this goes into Janet's point down here, right? I'm gonna go down here to Janet, right? Janet's going off. Janet's just going off. Shots fired in the messages over here. First, she's like, Martin, stop sweating me over here, Martin. Get out of here, Martin, with the Freakonomics link, Marty. Then she goes on, I don't agree. I love you so much, Janet. I don't agree with elevator fees either, especially in cities like Manhattan, etc. Janet, you know it takes time to get on them elevators, Janet. You know it takes time. And then Janet goes on, if I'm supporting an agent all year long, why does paying an extra $500 make a magical crew show up? This is when Janet gets mad at me. This is when we have it out. No, but thank you for asking, Janet. Respectfully, I'd like to answer that. The agent may say they're supporting you all year long. And the second thing is their cost of labor goes up. So they're using guys that are charging $100 in November, December, January. And then in June, those same guys are charging $200, $250, $300 sometimes. So if they're using an independent contractor model whose labor frankly goes up, whose cost of, labor prices goes up, they have to recoup that somehow. So, I think I can understand how it feels unfair. And it's like, where does that money come from? Where does it go? It feels like it's just a money grab, perhaps. But I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts, Tim? Janet, also, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, how does an extra $800 give me a seat on that airplane in Thanksgiving? Well, there's only so many seats, so there's only so many crews.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, unscrupulous movers will take a crew off of job one and put it on job two if the person paying for job two is going to put up more money.
Yep. Jag Jampel says issue. Yeah, it helps prioritize the business, right? If I got, to your point, I got 100 people wanting a spot on that truck and I only got 50 spots. Well, it helps you prioritize the business. And I guess Janet would say, well, my relationship with you helps prioritize the business. The fact that I give you business all year long helps prioritize the businest. And I think that's true. But what if I only do business with people that give me business all year long? What if I'm not even doing COD? I'm just dealing with the Jack Jampels of the world, and the Janet Turners of the world all year long. Does that, I don't know. Let's see here. So Jack says, issue is that no one wants to be the first one to offer surge pricing, as you would be looked at as being, quote, more expensive, end quote, than other movers. Yeah, Jack, for sure. For sure.
Maybe there's a corporation that wants to go to their favorite mover and say, have you ever thought about surge pricing?
You also might say, instead of saying I'm more expensive than other movers, I'm more available than other movers, right? I never say no. I mean, that was our whole thing, Tim. Remember back at Forward Reel, That was our whole thing, was we never say no.
Give me every shipment you can't get covered.
Let's say, I'll cover it. And we were Cardis's biggest booker 2 Junes in a row. Yeah. 2 Junes in a row. We booked more Cardis tonnage than anybody else did. Now, I'm not going to say we did a great job on every one of them, but we got them all covered. Okay.
Not to say this, because if anybody from Cardis is on the phone, I'm not. But when you have two choices, get a move covered or not, sometimes getting a move covered, sometimes the quality aspect becomes secondary.
Yeah.
To making sure someone gets moved.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the issues that we were having, right, to be completely honest, was all of our first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth options that we wanted to use were unavailable, which is also probably why we got the business anyway.
Right.
Because they probably went through 1 through 3, 4, 5, 6 possibilities, right? And we were number 7. And then we went to the market in Boise, Idaho, and we ended up getting, some guys that played for the high school football team. Instead of calisthenics, they were loading trucks that day, and that's not ideal. What's ideal is having professional movers, making sure they were on every job, right? I mean, I'm not saying that was the rule, but that was the exception. And it happens because I think there's a pricing problem in the moving industry, frankly, you know. So
well, and another thing that's important to point out is Forward Relocation not only did this to our customers, we also did it to our employees that we were moving. I mean, when my household goods showed up when I was moving there, right? There was no crews available, and our great ops people found one guy that showed up with some butcher paper as floor protection, and
oh, you want craft paper? No doubt, I got you right here. You want the ribeye stuff, or you want the sirloin?
And said, "I'll move anything that I can move by myself."
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, but this is, you know, this is what happens in the summertime sometimes, because it just gets, everybody's trying to move at the same time, and you're just pulling people out of nowhere, you know. It's rough. It's rough out there. I mean, Michael Quigley, shout out to Quigs. Seasonal prices for COD lump sum moves are all over the board. He's talking about California. There's zero discount moves happening in California because everybody's moving in peak season. I think that's fascinating. I think that's a real life story that people need to hear and think about, especially when corporations are out there, you know, with a bunch of business, they need it serviced. Yeah, here's something to Tim to consider. If I want 100 seats on an airline, as I start to buy those seats on that same plane, 1, 2, 3, you know, Expedia says there's 5 left, there's 4 left, there's 3 left, there's 2 left, there's 1, you know, whatever, right? But when that 5 goes away at this price, boom, the next tranche of 5 is available now, and that's $400, and those start to go away. And then boom, the next tranche is available at $450. And as I'm buying up all 100 seats on that airplane for my enormous family reunion to Aruba, okay, it's getting more expensive as I buy it up. If I say, hey, I want 100 shares, I want 1,000 shares of Amazon, the first 100 shares I buy are at one price, the next 100 shares I buy are at the next price, the next 100, and it's going up, right? Because I'm creating demand in the market, and now the price goes up because it's a free moving market. In the moving industry, the opposite happens. I say, hey, I'm a big company. I got 100 moves a year. What can you do me for? And you say, oh, I'll do you for $1,000 a move. Well, okay, interesting. What if I told you I could give you 500 moves? Well, gosh, I'll do you for $950. Well, what if I told you I buy 1,000 moves? Well, gosh, I'd do you for $900, right? It's not T-shirts, people. There's a limited amount of them. You know, there's a limited amount of spots on that truck. So really, the largest clients in the world, you would think, would be paying more than the smaller clients, right? Buying power, there's not an infinite amount of capacity. So the more you buy, the more you should theoretically pay then as well. But people don't that doesn't register with anybody.
I agree. 100%. I mean, I agree. You know, I was thinking about other things that I had purchased myself.
Mm-hmm.
You don't, very rarely by purchasing in quantity do you get the discounts that when people purchase moves in quantity, they think they should get.
Sure. Eric Masadi, who again is a big wig in the transportation business.
Huge.
Eric, you're gonna have all these people hitting your LinkedIn account. Dynamic market where demand is outpacing supply at historic rate. I think he's talking about, currently right now. So demand is outpacing the supply. Yep, at a historic rate. Which, what does that do to the spot market, right?
Yeah,
it's got to do crazy things to the spot market. Jack says, "Don't blame companies for your pricing issues." That's funny. You read the second part of that question, Tim. Let's see here. This is great. A lot of drivers do a G11 because it's cheaper than the labor they would have to pay to pick it up at a local agent. So for those of you who don't know, G11, R19, is basically the same APU. It means that the driver will not go to residence to pick it up, usually because they're not available on that date. But when they're not available on that date, it also may be because it's cheaper to pick it up off the warehouse dock than it is to go into the home. And so what happens is the local agent has to go out and pay a local crew to pick it up, bring it back, sit it on the floor of the warehouse until the driver can come pick it up off the dock right? Which is a lot easier than off the home, and the labor is cheaper out of the warehouse than it is out of the home. So what Thomas is saying is that this is a trick that drivers are starting to use to get around the cost of labor in the home during peak season. Now, why do you care? You might say, I don't care how the sausage is made, right? What it is it means there's double handling. It also means that there's a higher likelihood that you're going to see delays as well, right? And then all of a sudden now that shipment's going to take a few extra days to get to destination. What does that mean to you? It means increased cost due to temp living expense. Maybe you're spending $150, $200, $250 a day, maybe more on your temp living. So that's going to be additional cost to the corporation, as well as the employee experience is going to be worse, right? Higher claims and chance of loss, theft, pilferage, etc. So there's all these sorts of second order, third order effects that are happening because shipments aren't getting picked up from residents as much due to the volatility in the labor market. Now, Jack, to your point, that's our problem. That's not your problem. But what I'm saying is it may become a problem. I don't know, for the corporation. Eric's saying that the van rate per mile is up 50% since May. What's interesting is Eric's talking about freight transportation, but this is also important because household goods drivers can throw up their hands at any moment. Take that rig that they operate, that tractor that they operate, and they can go haul freight. So when you see a Walmart advertising $87,000, a year, for freight drivers going bumping docks, warehouse to warehouse, these household goods drivers look at that and they're like, gosh, man, I don't got to work in the sun. I don't got to deal with these local labor crews that are wanting $100, $200, $300 a day. I don't got to pay for insurance, gas, cardboard, etc. I don't got to get hit and debited for claims. I don't got to bust my back quite literally. I could just go haul freight, because this 50% per, is also a 50% increase in the take home pay for those owner operators hauling freight. So another thing to consider as well. Tim, hop in at any time here.
Well, man. I was going to say the key to this is that's just since May.
Mm-hmm.
It even went up before May.
Mm-hmm.
We saw a little March, a little bit in April, we saw like a pause, but then it just started skyrocketing.
Yeah. Martin's over here offering solutions. Could a solution to surge pricing be moving people year round so there's not strain on capacity? Who wouldn't want to move to Boston in February?
I can't believe no one's thought of that.
Yeah. Gosh, Marty, you should be like president of an association or something. Jack Jampel, that Walmart example may force the industry to rethink pricing. That's what we're doing, right? I mean, we are the industry and we are rethinking pricing. Now, it is a slippery slope, right? Because, there's only so much discussion we can have around this topic. It's a very sensitive topic. But I'm really just throwing it out there that these are the macroeconomic factors at play. I think you started to see some pricing uptick in household goods as well a couple of years ago. Some major van lines, other major van lines kind of raised their rates, around the same time to make up for kind of, an increase in costs that have been building for quite a while. But it would be interesting to see if household goods contracts, went away for corporations and everything was done on a COD basis. That would be very interesting. Let's see here. Georgia says crews need to have a clean background, which now limits availability. Yeah, and what is a clean background? How many years are you going back? Are you looking at felonies? Are you looking at misdemeanors? Are you looking at, I had a kid that came in and wanted to drive a straight truck locally, and he had a park after dark ticket from 3 years ago that he didn't pay, I guess, or whatever. It's like, okay, well, got to go get that taken care of now. And like, okay, 3 months later, he comes back and I'm like, yeah, well, now it's September and I'll check you next May because people aren't moving to Boston in February.
Stay out of the park after dark between now and then.
Yeah, go find somewhere to be, huh?
Wow.
Well, it's only a crime if you're black. Yeah, I said it. Park after dark. That's BS. Anyway, Thomas Geiger, I'm sorry, as a mover in Charlotte, we deal with a ton of elevators and long carriers all the time. It takes 3 to 4 hours just for 2,000 pounds to deliver and load. I can unload 9K at residence in 4 hours. I mean, hey, Tommy, I think you're onto something, you know. Elevators take time. I remember in New York City, I mean, gosh, you know, I got a $150 parking ticket in New York City. I didn't get this, but the driver got this, right? I got a $150 parking ticket in New York City because the guys had to park near the building. Otherwise, they literally would have parked 3 blocks away. There's parts in New York City you can't even park in. Yeah. And you know you're going to go down there, you're going to double park, you're going to get a ticket, and you just charge it back to the account and say, hey, it's a parking permit. Well, it was listed as a parking ticket, not a parking permit. It got denied. We don't pay parking permits. Well, you know, or parking tickets. Well, you know, consider it a parking permit. Well, it's not a parking permit. It's a parking ticket. Well, they don't issue parking permits in Manhattan. You know, so these are just the little ways that the drivers just get nickel and dimed every turn. It's making it harder and harder to do the business. And yet there's more and more entities that exist, whether they be audit companies, relocation companies. There's just more things, more people that are just saying no left and right and making it difficult to do the work, you know. So just something to think about next time somebody submits a parking ticket for reimbursement. You know, it's just something to think about here. Good old Bob Russo in Jersey. What's up, Bob? As capacity decreases, cost increases, cost rises. Otherwise, it's the rule of diminishing returns. You know, the rule of diminishing returns is interesting because I think that our clients would argue that they're not getting the same service that they used to get from their movers. And I think it's interesting because, I mean, diminishing returns, as Bob says. Be interesting to see what could be done about it. Janet, let's see here. Janet's in the comments here. You know, Tim, we're way over here. I know you said I only paid for an hour, so I apologize in advance. I'm not accepting a prorated invoice for your time.
As long as I get twice as much as Chuck White, I'll be okay.
These are great comments. People are loving this right now. If you're into this kind of stuff, you're really into this conversation. If you're not, you're probably like, what's Ben talking about? Tim, there's so much more we could go and talk about. But I mean, I want to just kind of leave you with the opportunity to kind of talk about whatever you want to talk about, kind of leave us on whatever note you'd like to go.
I think, you know, when I got into the industry, relocation, we'll use the broad relocation industry, I never knew how much there was to learn about it. And I continue to learn more and more about it. And I'm very interested to start learning more about the relocation management companies, because I think that a freight or alternative transportation company and a relocation management company may have a lot to talk about.
That's interesting. You know, that's a connection that I don't think people have made really in the past much, unless that relocation company might be a forwarder themselves or might be, you know, owned by a moving company. They probably don't interface much with a logistics company like yourself. What are some of the ways you think that maybe they could partner? I mean, how would that work?
I mean, you know, why do companies go to relocation management companies? Because they handle it all, right? So I understand why any part of the actual process of moving, it would make sense for a relocation company to go to a moving company, and then the moving company could figure out who their third-party vendors are going to be. Where I think that a relocation company could benefit by going with one specific alternative transportation partner company. I think there would be better service. You would have less points, you know, another point of contact, but be more directly involved in the transportation. And I definitely think you could see some increased profits.
Yeah, I mean, similar to the way that relocation companies have aligned themselves with different third-party services companies.
Exactly.
You know, where they designate and direct. Yeah, that's interesting. Interesting concept. Tim, it's been, you know, we're over here, but I want to say, man, it's good to see you. You know, I hope your family's doing well. You know, Tim, you were at my son's first. You were at my first son's first birthday party.
Yep.
You know, and
remember that.
you know, it's funny when things are happening, you don't really think about it, you know, you just like, oh, let me invite some guys from the office that I like, you know, and but then when you look back on it, you know, all these years later and stuff, and your daughter and your son were there and your wife was there, you know, and it's like, you know, you look back at in your brain about the people that were in the room, you know, and you kind of just have a fondness and a nostalgia for that, you know, and you realize how important people that we meet and that we work with are, you know, we spend so much time working, you know, and so many of our, you know, critical life moments, you know, are happening, you know, we share those with the people that we work with, and those people that, you know, kind of just, you know, share a wall with, kind of end up becoming your friends and stuff. And, you know, I'm really happy to have you as a friend, Tim. And it's really good to see you and spend time with you and watch your career, you know, develop and do different things. And it's nice to be able to call you and say, hey, Tim, let's chat on a Monday afternoon, man. It's nice to know you're there, Tim. So thank you.
Thank you, Ben. I appreciate it. And I feel the same about you. You're helping me grow my career, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate your friendship.
Yeah, man. It's good to see you, buddy. And, you know, we got a great lineup here on Love and Reload this week. Go ahead again and give a like and a heart to Tim if you haven't done it already. We will be putting out a lineup this afternoon. I'm working with a new graphic design company, so we're a little behind on that, but I will pop it out this before I leave the office. That is my commitment to you. Also, we've got some great people coming on from Porchlight Rentals and Destination Services are coming on the program. We've got Next Gen GM coming on. We've got, we got a whole Friday episode with the Corporate Action Network for Move for Hunger. Again, you can still get t-shirts as well right now, which is awesome. Thank you to all the people that have gone ahead and got t-shirts and hoodies and sponsored things. We raised $26,000 so far this month for Move for Hunger. So I appreciate so much everybody that's done that. I couldn't do this show without you guys. It's really all about you. So thanks to everybody that's been in the comments, sharing their thoughts and perspectives. It means the world to me that you take time out of your day to do that. So big shout out to everybody. And we will see you again tomorrow, everybody. Take care out there.